Hello, and welcome to Module 2 of how to conduct a basic crime scene investigation. Module 2 talks about the steps in conducting a basic crime scene investigation. But before we get into Module 2, let's discuss what we talked about in Module 1. We went over and we dissected the definition of a crime scene. We talked about the golden rule of crime scene investigation. We talked about the principle that was offered by Dr. Edmund Locard, and we gave you some important facts about a crime scene itself. And we also talked about some of the job that a crime scene investigator has to entail. So with that, we'll start on Module 2, Steps in Conducting a Basic Crime Scene Investigation. There are 4 steps, not necessarily done in order because every crime scene is unique and you never do the same thing in every single crime scene, okay? Number 1 is secure the scene. That's a part of the conducting the basic crime scene investigation. The second one is to separate witnesses. The third is to record all evidence located within the crime scene. And the fourth is to search for physical evidence. All right. Let's talk about securing the scene, number 1. Of course, you know that law enforcement is a responding entity. Usually, we don't get there before a crime occurs. We normally get there afterwards. So we're more of a reactive force than we are a proactive force. Okay, so the duties of the first responder that responds to a crime scene is to first and foremost to protect the area, make sure that there are no weapons, no one that's handling weapons in the crime scene or near the crime scene. Restrict entry of unauthorized personnel. You want the least amount of people you have on the crime scene, the better you can conduct your crime scene investigation. So you don't want people in and you don't want people out, in and out your crime scene. All right. You want to initiate a crime scene log. Now, the crime scene log is basically a record of anybody who enters, once you enter, anybody who enters your crime scene or anyone who leaves your crime scene. You want to write down their name. You want to write down the time that they entered, and you want to write down the time that they departed your crime scene. Now, there should not be a lot of names on that crime scene log, because the least amount of people in the crime scene, the better results you have for your investigation. And you always got to remember Locard's principle that the perpetrator brings something into the crime scene, and you will too. When you go into the crime scene, you'll bring something. The perpetrator leaves with something from the crime scene, and so will you. That's why the least amount of people in the crime scene, the better. Okay. Number 4 is to collect information. Okay, and we're talking about the first responder. We want to find out who was involved. We want to find out what happened. We want to find out what the basis of the incident occurred, and anything that was said, smelled, touched, seen, whatever, involving that incident. Always remember, any area left unsecure on a crime scene will result in the transfer, loss, or contamination of evidence within the crime scene. And I'm going to say that again, because it's very important. Any area left unsecure in a crime scene will result in the transfer, the loss, and contamination of evidence. You don't want your evidence contaminated because that could flaw your whole case. Okay. You have to be careful. Once you develop your crime scene, you have to maintain your crime scene. All right. Number two, we're talking about separating witnesses. You want to separate witnesses because you don't want them to conjure together and come up with a story that doesn't match the evidence that's laid out on the scene. So the best thing to do is find out who was there. Once you find out who was there, get them separated so that you can get individual stories from individual people. You want to call for backup. Make sure you call for backup. The more officers on the scene, the better you can control the crime scene. Okay? You have to realize that until you figure out who is who at the crime scene, you can never assume. That's one thing they taught us at the South Carolina Criminal Justice Academy. Never assume anything. Okay? The witness or the suspect or the perpetrator could be right there on the crime scene when you get there. You never know. You have to separate people. Okay? Remember to always request for backup. I can't say that enough because it's very, very important. Always request for backup. Okay? The third step in conducting a basic crime scene investigation is to record all evidence at the crime scene. All right. Now, after the crime scene is secured, and I note that I say after the crime scene is secured, which involves photography or videography of any crime scene or any evidence that you may have on the crime scene. Take pictures. Take wide range. The further away you move in, and you take mid-range, and then you move in a little closer, and you take close-ups. Okay, so those are the three types of photographies, photo existence that you would take. Okay, and I'm not going to say you always start on the wide range, because you may not. You may start on the close-up and work your way out. It can go either way. So I won't ever say that this is what you should do on every crime scene. No, every crime scene is different. Okay. You want to make measurements with or without a measuring ruler. Very important. What I have done was to created a picture that shows an image with a measuring ruler. As you can see, this is a bloody footprint that has been measured to scale with a measuring ruler. Okay. You want to take pictures with the measuring ruler. You want to take pictures without the measuring ruler. All right. I would take the pictures without first, and then I would measure and I would lay my measuring rulers down and take pictures with the measuring ruler. Okay. Crime scene sketch is very important. You can always, a crime scene sketch can basically show you, sometimes even better than a photograph, of the position of a deceased person's body. It can differentiate distances between one object and the body, which cameras may not do. Cameras take pictures of what they see. Your crime scene sketch can take pictures of distances. It can take, and you draw that picture to scale, and it'll show 5 feet away from so and so and so, 4 feet away from so and so, 3 feet away from whatnot. Okay. You can get a clear picture of any and all evidence that's on the scene with the crime scene sketch. All evidence measured from 2 immobile points. Okay, let's say you had a trash can and you had a dead body. You wouldn't want to measure the distance from the trash can to the deceased person's body, because the trash can always at some time be moved. But if there's a wall close to the deceased person's body, you can use that. That's something that you know is immobile and it won't move, and your distances won't change between deceased person's body and your immobile object. All right. You want to always in your crime scene sketch, you want to always identify north. You want to always show which way north is pointing as it relates to your crime scene sketch. All right. And I mentioned it earlier, but you need to scale distances. 5 feet away from a wall cannot be measured on a picture, but 5 feet on a wall can be drawn to scale on a crime scene sketch. That's why I say sometimes it's better to do a crime scene sketch than sometimes photography. Okay, now videography, taking a video of the crime scene, is excellent because it can pretty much tell you where things are and the distances, and you can see. All right, it's much clearer than photography. All right, the fourth step in conducting a basic crime scene investigation is to search for physical evidence. You have to realize that any search for evidence within a crime scene must be systematic. It must be systematic. You have to develop some type of pattern within your crime scene that will help you to cover all areas of the crime scene without missing anything. Okay, so that no evidence is missed, you want to develop a pattern. All right. And we do have certain types of crime scene search patterns that we use. Number one is we talking about, and I'm going to depict that on a picture I got to show you, a strip or a line search method. And I'm giving you an example of a strip or line search. You see what they're doing is they starting at one point and they doing a straight line. They're coming back and they're going back in a straight line. They coming back, and all the time you're searching the room for evidence as you go in different directions. Okay, that's called the strip or line search method. Now, the next method of search we're talking about is the spiral spiral search method. And with my drawing here, you see that the detective started in the center of the room and made circular motions as he searched his way outside of the crime scene. That's another method that you can use that will ensure that you won't miss any evidence. Okay. The third method is the grid. You can call it the grid. You can call it the quadrant method, or you can call it the zone search method. Now, a zone search method is basically a strip or line search that goes two ways. Okay. What you're doing is you're making a grid, and everything within that grid is what you search. Everything within that grid is what you search. Everything that's in that grid is what you search. So this is basically how the grid, I call it the grid search myself, is conducted. All right. The next one is called the wheel or ray search, which is quite simple. You start out in the middle and you work your way out on all angles in all directions. Okay. Everything making sure that you don't miss any evidence. Okay. So with that, we have concluded Module 2, and we look to see you in Module 3. Thank you.